Please hold while we think of an opening.
That's it? That's the best you can do?
I'm trying to think! Okay, Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a very special episode today of Court Shills for Fortnite. We have a ton in store for you today. Other people will kind of be talking a little bit as well, but 90% of the podcast today is going to be me talking about how cool the new Fortnite season is. So be ready for that.
Well, Court does his own podcast episode off to my left. The rest of us will be doing the 8th episode of Knights of the Deep. That was good, Court. That worked.
Thanks.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 8. As you can tell, we continue to do host musical chairs as Ben is taking a leave of absence, so Skyler's filling in for him. And next week, Court will be missing, so Hiram will probably come back, and Ben will still be missing. And then maybe 2 weeks after that, when we have conference, we won't be filming, so none of us will be here. Consistency, not
Consistency
something we
is a
do
myth.
here. Consistency is a myth. It is not in our lore. But welcome to episode 8 as I return from basketball. Same with Skyler, although I guess people wouldn't have known Skyler was missing. But we were both helping do a basketball production last week, but now we are here, ready to speak about video games in various capacities. There's a lot that kind of happened last week. That's good, fun stuff. Actually, before we go into topics, did anything have any gaming-related fun stuff happen for anyone in the last week? Any fun, exciting news?
The new Fortnite season came out today.
Okay, so let's listen here, buddy. We're not talking about it now. Lillian, your camera went dead, so we're gonna keep talking. Oh wait,
Yes.
no, you're just like
I think
4 years in the past.
Hiram-
Whoa.
Are you on
Wait.
our internet? Can you
Anyways.
not be.
Destroyed.
I think you're good now.
On our internet. You not
Okay,
be.
listen, Court. The Fortnite season, that's a news topic. That doesn't count.
Okay, yeah, it is better.
No,
I was
you're
noticing that it was off.
That was
but-
really funny. I was like, wait, Lillian's not moving. Exciting stuff for me. As of recording, as of Saturday, once we're finished recording, I'll be building a computer, so that'll be fun. A beefy boy. I also got
That is
accepted to the
fun.
closed beta of the new SAO game for next weekend, so that's also
no way.
exciting. Yeah.
Wow.
I got the email yesterday. I get to play the Fractured Daydream closed beta next week on my new computer.
Wow. That's exciting.
I guess in non-Fortnite related news, Ben and my brother finally convinced me at gunpoint to buy Helldivers 2, and
At gunpoint.
and it is the best gunpoint decision I've ever made because it is so good. Like, I swear, you guys.
Court, that insinuates that you've made other gunpoint decisions.
You don't know what I get up to when I'm not recording. But no, like, it is literally like I got done playing my very first match of Helldivers with Ben, my brother, and my uncle Dallin. And it was like immediately I was like, that was probably the funnest experience I've had playing video games in years.
There you
Like,
go.
it is just a blast. Like, it is a game that is made to do 3 things:
Spread
create
democracy.
funny moments, create cinematic moments, and yeah, spread democracy for the third one. That's a good one. Like, it is just like, it is so fun, and to the point where it's like I've literally been like waking up early here in the DR
Wow.
just to like hop on and like do a quick mission before I have to go teach, you know, like just because
If we keep this up, guys, we'll get him away from
fun.
Fortnite. If we keep this up, we can get him. We can save him.
we can still say he's not lost.
He's not lost.
Nope. Especially with the new season coming out, you can't.
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay. As in terms of actual news, we'll start with the first piece of news that is only like kind of related to gaming. I think it's related to almost every part of the entertainment industry. It was announced this week that Rooster Teeth is shutting down after 21 years after Warner Brothers. I mean, Rooster Teeth, it seems, has been pretty unprofitable for Warner Brothers, and they were trying to shop around to find potential buyers for it, and they couldn't, so they just decided to close the company. I know that the Rooster Teeth podcast, like the podcast part of it, will continue on as is, just without a parent company, but I think they're shopping for buyers on that, and then I think Warner Brothers is also trying to find buyers for shows like Genlock and Ruby, because obviously those shows aren't finished. At least Ruby. Ruby being the largest one that Rooster Teeth has. And I know that I know that they're looking at shopping that one around. But like generally in the entertainment industry, Rooster Teeth has been a pretty like big player in terms of like content creator led stuff. So it kind of the news kind of came out of nowhere, honestly. I don't think no one was really expecting that to come out this week.
I feel like Rooster Teeth was kind of the first like big instance of a like small team or decent, like a team of like community content creators really hitting it big and then becoming like a big name in the, you know, like, because they started out doing pretty small scale. I mean, they started out making like Red versus Blue shorts on YouTube, right? I mean, like that was kind of
was where they began.
And then now now they've got, you know, whole TV shows that they produce. They're owned by Warner Brothers. Yeah, like
I mean, they had whole conventions for just them.
Yeah.
So it is sad to see them go, but unfortunately, welcome to the free market.
Yes.
Welcome to capitalism, people. This is what happens.
Yep. I feel like this is probably, you know, just kind of riding on the tails of the trend of all the layoffs and everything post-COVID.
Yeah, it is. I think you're spot on with that one. It's just kind of part of it. As soon as Rooster Teeth was bought, because Rooster Teeth was bought by some other companies, and then, I mean, once they were acquired by Warner Brothers, everyone was just kind of like, oh boy, they're not going to last very long here because corporate execs don't understand how the internet works.
Yes.
Right, no, exactly. Any, you know, goober in a suit that is looking through Warner Brothers like list of things that they own. What the heck is Rooster Teeth? Let's get rid of this. You know, like
yeah.
Any goober in a suit.
That is what they are.
They're goobers in a suit. Well, Court, do you want to talk about goobers in suits of EA and Warner Brothers?
I do want to talk about goobers in suits because that was like 90%. Okay, so my big topics were the new Fortnite season and then just several horror stories of goobers in suits. So we'll start with a company that's no stranger to goobers in suits, with EA.
Dude,
and this one honestly isn't that bad.
It was really funny though.
Yeah, like this one's really not that bad in terms of things that EA execs has done. It's just like it was just kind of weird. Like basically someone asked Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA, otherwise known as probably the worst guy.
The worst guy.
He has a whole history of being just awful at his job. But anyway, and so someone asked him like, you know, like how do you see AI influencing the gaming community, like the gaming scene in the future? And he starts off by giving like some fairly standard answers. You know, he's like, oh, you know, like we're using it to try to like streamline our workflow, and before, like when we made a stadium in one of our football games, you know, it would take us 6 months, and then recently we got that down to 6 weeks, and with the help of generative AI, you know, who knows, we could get that process down to like 6 days, you know, and pretty standard stuff, right? But then, like, he got hit with like some laughing gas from someone in the crowd or something, and he just went off about like in the middle of this conversation. He just goes off about like he's like, and then eventually like I can't even I don't even really understand what he was saying enough to like properly word it. But essentially, what he was saying was like something along the lines of like, eventually AI will become so powerful that like EA will just be like a platform for people to make AI games
Yeah, and then
on.
he tossed out
And
a
then,
number
like,
of like 3 billion people.
yeah, he's like sometime in the future,
games.
3 billion people will be using AI to make their own AAA EA games, and they'll just be publishing them to EA's like platform, and
It's
and it's just like
That is an
so
interesting
silly.
vision for your game company.
Like, I kind of get what he's going for there, where it's like, okay, like AI will make it easy for just like the common man who doesn't know anything about video game
3
development to
billion
make games, but it's
people.
like, but it's like 3 billion people. That's almost half the world's population. Like,
Well, what's so funny about this one is that some of did you see the PC Gamer, like the headline for that?
yes, that's what it originally drew
EA
me to.
CEO talks AI, says the usual stuff before the bong rip hits, and he starts blabbing about a future where 3 billion people are creating EA's games with it. And he was like, what?
He literally just went off, and it's like, I mean, I don't know if he was just trying to use like 3 billion as like a generic, like large,
Number.
Large number, but it's like it's such a specific large number that it's just like it seems like it was on purpose. But if it was, then like, in what future does he imagine that nearly half the world's population is using AI to make EA games? Like,
It was silly. But that one's just like him just being off the goop. But Warner Brothers CEO, what happened with that one, Court?
so okay, it wasn't Warner Brothers CEO. It wasn't David
you misled
Zaslav
us.
or whatever his name is. It was
Head
it
of
was
gaming.
Warner Bros. Yeah, their head of gaming.
Hold up.
Their head of like their gaming department. And he basically let me paint a picture here for you. Okay, so
Paint a picture.
in recent times, within the last like year and a half, Warner Bros. Games have put out 2 major AAA games based on their super successful IPs, DC and Harry Potter, like Wizarding World.
One of them
And
was
one
good.
of them was Hogwarts Legacy. It was a single player, like console AAA release, just like single player, buy it, you're done. Like it was the best-selling game of last year, beating out, every other game, including Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Call of Duty, everything, just by like a long shot. Like just destroying the market. And then about a month ago, they also released our favorite game,
Your
Suicide
favorite game.
Squad Kill the Justice League, which, as everyone expected and knew from the get-go, crashed, burned, everyone hated it, and it was a live service looter shooter with like a full
Looter
cost,
shooter.
and then also like a bunch of battle pass and like scummy like microtransaction stuff in it, like everything that's wrong with the gaming industry right now, and this big live service games as a service thing fiasco, and it did horribly, and it flopped, and like now like 3 people are playing it total. And
3 people.
And anyway, so in a recent press conference thing, Warner Brothers head of gaming department basically said, like straight up said that, yeah, Hogwarts Legacy did great, but that's really just because the market is really volatile, and we just got really lucky with that one. We think that in the future we should really double down and focus on these live service, games as a service, free-to-play mobile games. That's where the real money is, because it's like and it's just like, what? Like, like any other company, I could kind of see, like, like they're like, oh, some of these live service games like Helldivers, which is kind of live service but like done right, are making good money, so it's like we should try to capitalize on that. But it's like Warner Brothers literally just had like
a
the prime
catastrophe.
example, like the prime example of a
dude.
strong AAA, well-made single-player game selling incredibly well and making them boatloads of money.
No
And
way.
A live service game tanking, shattering their reputation with players.
And then they said one, and then they did the SpongeBob. Want to see me do it again? again.
Yeah, and they're literally so yeah, we're gonna double down on the one that flopped and everyone hated. That's what we're gonna do more of because and it's just like, in what world? Like, I don't know. Like they even went so far as to say that that Hogwarts Legacy 2 is not going to be just like a one-off single player game release.
Get ready for the
they are planning on
Hogwarts
making
Battle
Hogwarts
Pass.
Legacy 2 a live service game.
You ready? Get ready for the Harry Potter Battle Pass.
Yeah, with all this, and it's like, what? It's just crazy to me that these people can be so horrendously bad at their jobs.
Ain't no way.
And still have their jobs. It's like, I mean, this is literally the equivalent of me as a teacher being like, you know what? Having my kids just watch Bluey all day instead of actually doing any work sucked and it was awful. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And that way they'll learn, it's just it is literally the exact opposite of what, it's right there written out so clearly for them. No other company has such a blatant example of a horrible failure and a fantastic success just right in front of them, and then is choosing to be like, we're gonna chase the horrible failure and make sure that happens again. It's just bonkers. It's so crazy to me that they're so out of touch. I kind of get it because I don't get it, but I can see why it's becoming a big thing in the industry right now to chase down these free-to-play live service games, because the ones that do it right
make money.
I don't know, like Fortnite, or Apex Legends, games like that. The ones that do it right are making ridiculous amounts of money, and so it's I can kind of see why everyone would want to be in on that, but it's that's such a lightning in a bottle thing. You have to make it successful, you have to do it just right. And these companies, when they're focusing more on making money than they are actually making a game, they're not doing it right. No, and so it's they're not going to make anything. And so it's just it's so backwards, and it's just make a good game and then you'll make money. But they just don't get it. And it's the fact that it's the guy who's in charge of gaming for Warner Bros. It's whoa, I'm just, imagine how much more money Warner Brothers would have made if instead of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, they had Rocksteady develop a single player Superman game where you play as Superman and it's sick and it's dope and you can fly around. And imagine how much more money they would have made. So much more money. Basically, these guys are just really bad at their jobs, and we should all have their jobs.
Long story short, we take anything from
rant
this.
over.
Rant over. He is off his soapbox. Court's really passionate about his games, guys. He wants them to be good, and he wants them made correctly.
I'm just shocked that this guy literally has that's literally him seeing being sat in front of a table, and on one plate is a golden apple that will heal all of your injuries and give you everything you've ever wanted, and on one plate is a bottle of acid poison that'll kill you if you drink it, and he's just you guys, you know what? This acid bottle looks fetching tasty. Let's drink it. And then he just guzzles it on live television. It's so stupid.
Lillian, I think you're in the past again.
I am.
Is Hiram using your bandwidth?
No, he switched to Pokemon, but you won't know for another 30 seconds.
He switched to Pokemon! Anyways, Court's off his soapbox. Let's go to some esports stuff. Skyler, take us away with CS2.
So I mean, there's a lot going on in Counter-Strike esports right now. I don't want to talk about everything because that would take me an hour, but because CS is very unique in where they don't really have I don't know. I mean, they do have seasons. They have a season and they have a break and then they have a season. But there's just like events going on constantly. It's not like, I don't know, League of Legends where LCS lasts for like this many weeks and then there's like a break and then there's, it's just like tournament. So there's a lot of tournaments going on right now. But the biggest thing, perhaps, at least for me and lots of other people, would be that the major is like, I think 10 days away. So the qualifiers.
The one in Copenhagen, right?
Yeah, the Copenhagen major. So the qualifiers for that ended like probably last week. I think it's kind of hard to keep track. Lots of surprises and upsets. Like if you look at the 24 teams that qualified, like half of them are like no names.
Let's go.
Which is cool for those teams, like fantastic for those teams because they're going to make a lot of money with stickers. And like, that's what everybody's in it for. So great for them. And it's also just like nice to see competition. Like it's not just the big name orgs that are going to be dominating. Like you can find a group of guys, put a team together and make the major. And that's kind of how Valve initially intended it. But at the same time, 3 of my favorite teams did not qualify for the major. 2 of them being super teams that absolutely should have qualified. Liquid, Fnatic, and Astralis all didn't make it, which especially for Astralis, which is the #1 organization in Denmark, not qualifying for the Copenhagen major absolutely sucks for them. Like there's actually a lot of very prominent Danish players that are missing out on the first major ever in Denmark, and they're just destroyed about it. But also, it's nice to see super teams fail because there's like there's this one of the commentators, Launders, has been like making YouTube videos like hating on all the teams for like sucking and super teams failing, and he's really funny. But yeah, that's like the biggest thing in Counter-Strike right now. Valve has not released the stickers yet, so we don't know what they look like, but I'm very excited. Because particularly there's this one team called 9 Pandas that made it. So we're going to have panda stickers in the game.
Panda stickers.
Those will sell like hotcakes.
I like pandas.
Yeah. Pandas are good.
So that's pretty much it for the esports side. But speaking of Astralis, the Danish organization, something interesting showed up on Twitter or X recently.
Whatever it is.
Whoever you're talking to.
So one of Astralis' female players, and I think it might have even been the whole team. I don't know exactly how it started, but pretty much like they post this thing that's like a letter to Valve, the developers of Counter-Strike. And they're like, we feel like females are not properly represented in the game. All of the default like skins, like the default models for characters in Counter-Strike are all males. There are female skins available, but you have to pay money, and that's like pretty much their whole thing. I have the letter pulled up. I can read a couple things for it. So they apparently sent mail to Counter-Strike, and then they tweeted about this as a follow-up just to like let people know that they were doing it. And they say, we love your game, which is an important part of our lives. We share the passion of Counter-Strike with millions of gamers, and we love being a part of the community. Unfortunately, they say, we currently feel we are only guests at the party. Using a female agent skin costs extra while default skins are all male. We don't know why it is, but we know that it strikes us as being both unfair and a bit unwelcoming. It certainly feels that way, and in some way it supports the sexism that we unfortunately still encounter, which I will say is a big problem in Counter-Strike. The community is not very friendly to females, unfortunately.
No.
But they also say there should be no difference between agents. There should be as many free female agents as free male agents, and we believe more women would start playing the game if there were more default free female agents. So
I mean, I think they've got a solid argument there.
It is a good argument. I mean, definitely.
Go ahead.
As a woman who plays video games, it is definitely interesting, especially being a woman who's not good at video games. I get a lot of flack.
Well, no.
I mean, I do fit the very typical stereotype.
No.
It's not untrue that I am bad at video games. And so to have like a little bit more representation. Even though I'm not good at video games, it is
Would be
still
nice.
nice to have that representation, especially like when women are very good at video games. Like I'm not good at video games, but that's not because I'm a woman. It's because I don't play. It's because I'd rather watch somebody else.
An actual skill issue,
Like-
and that is it.
Yeah, it's a skill issue, and that's it. Yeah, so it is definitely,
I think
like-
they definitely have an argument.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really glad to get your perspective because I was wondering, I thought a lot about this, not only like in preparation for this podcast, but like when I saw it show up on my feed, I'm like, that's really interesting. I hadn't really thought of that before, obviously, because it's not an issue for me.
Yeah.
But
Well, and it's
like,
probably something that I wouldn't even have noticed. Like,
yeah, and that's something I want to say too. So, like, just to put this out there, I have no problem with what they're saying. I agree.
Yeah.
And I would
Yeah.
love to see more females play Counter-Strike because, like, I see all the girls playing Valorant. And I'm like, dang, I wish, 'cause
Yeah.
I like CS more, and I'm like, it would be
Yeah.
cool to encounter some girls in CS. The only thing that I question, and again, I'm not trying to say I'm against their proposition. I'm not
Mhm.
against
Yeah.
females or anything like that. But I think, especially with a game like Counter-Strike, I really question whether the male model thing has anything to do with like not attracting female players, especially in a game like Counter-Strike where you literally don't even see your character model like 99% of the time because you're in a first-person view. You can literally only see your
Mhm.
arms and like hands
Yeah.
and the gun. So it's like, and when I thought of like myself, it's like when I'm looking at a game, does the sex of the character that I'm playing as have any effect on whether I decide to play that game or not? And I think no. Like
Mhm.
a couple
Not
of
in
my
games
favorite
like this,
games.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
especially in games like this, but even in other games, like I think of Celeste, if you guys know what that is, like the platforming game.
Mhm.
Like you play as a girl,
Yeah.
but I still love that game. Like I never even thought once, like, man, I wish I was a guy right now. Which like maybe it's because I'm a guy and like maybe I would feel differently if I was a girl. But also like I look at Valorant and it's like there are female agents and there are male agents. And if you want to play duelist, most of the best duelists are all female. But does
Mhm.
that like stop guys from playing the female characters? Like I don't think so.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know. For me, I kind of get it. I think we as dudes kind of have a bit of a like we have a bit of a maybe like a biased perspective on it because in general guys are the default, and
Yeah.
so it's like and it always has been that way. And so yeah, we're like, yeah, it doesn't matter to us, but like I wonder if the roles were reversed, if it would, like, I don't know, like, I mean, I'm even thinking about it again. I'm bringing up Fortnite. Don't bully me. But like in Fortnite, the default skins that you get if you don't pay for anything, right? It's just like the default. I think there's 8 total, and it's like it's just 4 different random guys and 4 different random girls, and you
Mhm.
don't choose. It just like cycles you through,
Yeah.
And so it's like whatever. But like I don't know, like I feel like I would be a little like I wouldn't be like mad, but I would feel a little like almost like weirded out. I don't know if it was like all the defaults were just women and it was like and there was just no like male default. I'd be like, seems like an odd choice, like why not keep it balanced? Like but that never happens, like
Yeah.
that like it's always either all the defaults are male or there's a relatively equal split between men and women. And so it's like I think as dudes we've never really had the opportunity to feel that way. I don't want to say the opportunity, but we've never like we've
Yeah.
never had to feel that way, because
Yeah,
like
I mean,
yeah.
and
No,
I think
it makes sense.
it like I don't know, because actually I like most of the video games I play, it's a male main character. So like Legend of Zelda or Mario, Pokemon you can typically choose, but like, do I really notice most of the time? No. I don't know that it would necessarily gain more women to play, but there is also an element of like when you want to be able to, like, I don't know, my experience has shown women tend to want to be able to place themselves in a game. I assume that, like, with guys, that is also true. And so to be able to place yourself in a game, it's a lot more difficult to do that if the character that you're playing as looks completely different from you, either by it being a male or by it being a different race or other things like that. I think that having more representation in general in games does help with that ability to really immerse yourself in a game. Now, if you're never really seeing the character model, I do think that it makes less of a difference, but it is still nice to be able to place yourself in a character role.
Yeah, I think what it kind of ends up being is, like, I feel like in a lot of games where there is a set main character who everyone plays as, and that's like the main, you know, like Legend of Zelda, like Celeste, like Mario, like Horizon Zero Dawn, you know, like there's a set character, and in those cases, like, like I don't really feel like I really care, you know.
Yeah.
But like in a game where I can choose to be a dude or a woman, I will 90% of the time, actually like 100% of the time, unless it's like I will always choose to be a dude, you know. Like it's like every Pokemon game I've ever played, I choose male, you know. Every you know,
unless
every
you're being
time
funny with your friends.
every Skyrim Fallout, everything, I'm always a dude, you know, like. And so it's just like, I think there's just that aspect of that we as guys kind of take that for granted a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I could definitely see where these gals are coming from on the CS:GO esport team, because it's just like, it's just a matter of like, I don't know, like it's just like you just kind of want to feel like you're part of the game, you know, like I don't know, like
well, and there's also already so many things where there is a little bit of like a female tax in terms of like accessibility to certain things. To feel like that's also the case in video games, I can absolutely understand their frustration with that, to feel like here's yet another place where women have to pay more money to do the things that they want to do.
Yeah, and I do think that is like one of the big part of it. It's like there is female representation, but it's not free, and that does seem a little bit unfair, because, you know, I like with
I almost prefer there to just never be female.
At that point, just
characters.
It's insulting.
And I almost also think that like it's less about like the representation of your character model and more of it being like just a gesture to the Counter-Strike community saying like females are welcome.
Yeah.
Because like people will literally, if they get in like a 5v5 and there's 4 guys and 1 girl, they will like kick the girl sometimes. Like it's that bad.
I've heard of things like that.
Counter-Strike community is so toxic. And like it is a problem. So I feel
like a lot of game communities can be like that sometimes.
They
can be definitely,
which is super weird, but
And there's always been kind of an odd culture surrounding women amongst the gaming community.
Yeah.
So that's one way that video game companies can help women to feel more welcome.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason for that is because we as gamers know that women aren't real. You know, like fake, made up.
I'm just fake. I don't exist.
That's kind of why, like, we have
I'm an
that,
AI-generated video.
Exactly.
That was why she was in the past and glitching about.
The gamer community, we know that women don't really exist. So they're not
Women
really.
aren't
so like
real.
that's why.
Okay, Court. Okay, moving on. We'll save Court's big fun one for the end. Let's run through some others. Okay, let's talk about the news topic that is technically no longer a news topic because things were changed. So, Epic and Apple had a little fun time in the last week, and then it turned into being okay. I don't really know.
So with Apple, the EU has made some legislation that has forced Apple to allow other app stores on their iPhones, basically, and Apple was not excited to allow long-term rival Epic Games to put their own app store onto their phones. And so it seems as though in order to get back at Epic Games for a former lawsuit that is ongoing, they canceled their developer account. They basically said you can't develop on Apple's platform anymore, so that then Epic Games couldn't have things like Fortnite on iPhone. They did back down on that decision yesterday, I believe. So
Thanks, Europe.
that,
Yeah,
But-
basically Europe was like, you sure? You sure about that?
Like, you sure about that?
That was
Because-
their gunpoint decision.
yeah. But
Yeah,
yes, eventually.
Oh, you can go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's basically it's a weird situation where it was only because it was only in Europe. Basically,
It was only in Europe.
like essentially Epic along with a bunch of because this all started a little while ago when Epic had beef with Apple because Apple was taking like a higher like what's the word I'm looking for
Like a higher
They're-
cut of.
A higher cut of the microtransactions.
yeah, like a higher cut
Yeah.
of their stuff than other platforms were, and it was kind of ridiculous, and they had all these extra things that were just super annoying for Epic to get around, and so Epic was like, hey, what if you didn't do that? And Apple was like, no. And so
Frick
then
you.
Epic like made this whole stink about it, which, you know, I mean,
Mhm.
there were reasons to be on Epic's side and there were reasons to be on Apple's side, you know, regardless. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm biased, but I like Epic, so like, but anyway, and so like, essentially, it eventually just happened that Epic just took Fortnite off of the Apple Store and all their other and a bunch of their other stuff,
Mhm.
and then recently, Epic, along with a whole bunch of other companies, basically wrote this big like letter to had this big thing with the European Union where they were like, hey, we don't think it's fair that Apple is basically not allowing anybody else to have any way to download anything or onto their phones, you know,
Without a cut being
except
taken.
like through Apple's official app store because it's like a monopoly or whatever, and we don't think that's fair. And Europe was like, yeah, no, you're right. And so everywhere else was like,
That's
no,
fair.
but Europe was like, yeah, okay. And so only in Europe, they were going to bring all these things back to the App Store because they were basically going to have, like, Europe was forcing Apple to allow people to download things through other outlets other than the App Store, which would allow Epic to circumnavigate this whole,
Mhm.
like,
monetary
thing. And so they were like, great. Apple kind of like maliciously complied with that. You know, they were like, okay, yeah, like we won't make you go through the Apple Store, like go through the App Store, but if you don't go through the App Store, then you have to pay us a whole crap ton of money. And everyone was like, and the companies were all like, oh, that just defeats the purpose of the whole thing we just set up. And then they like complained about it again to the European Union, and then Apple, like in response, shut down Epic's account and was like, they just don't make stuff for us. And then they complained again to the European Union, and then Apple was like, okay, fine, we won't. But anyway, it was a big mess, and I guess it's
They're in a big
mess,
hissy fight,
so.
and
Go
they need
Europe.
to chill.
And it's funny because it's all only in Europe. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
look,
the
what's
United
really
States,
funny is
everywhere
it's like
else just kind of sided with Apple. They were
Europe.
like,
The European Union is like the only like region that is openly just like willing to fight with Apple because they're the ones that
Yeah.
forced Apple to put USB-C ports on their iPhones. They're forcing Apple to like allow other app stores. Like the US would never.
oh yeah,
They'd never risk the hit to their economy.
No, they would not risk it. But
Yeah.
Europe's like, oh yeah, bring it on, Apple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a fun little mess of shenanigans. In other places of companies fighting other companies. We've talked about emulation in the past. And Nintendo is well known for being a company that doesn't really like anybody else doing literally anything with their stuff.
Yep.
Despite this, though, like we have things like the Dolphin emulator that kind of still exist because they're able to kind of like they're like, we don't promote piracy, and like the internal code for the Wii is legally in there, so it's like they can skirt the rules. But when they tried to release on Steam, Nintendo was like, no, you don't get to do that, so they had to like back off. But then there was then we have the Yuzu Citrus emulator, which is a Switch emulator that recently has been basically just gut punched and kneecapped completely by Nintendo, which I believe was as a result of like, there was a user that was like complaining that it wasn't working properly on an operating system, and then when they tried to get support for it, Yuzu was like, that's not something we do. And then in order to I could be completely wrong, I could be peddling misinformation on the internet, but I think that was the story. And then like, in order to get back at Yuzu, they went and found like a list of like 100 different Nintendo emails and just emailed Nintendo being like, hey, there's this emulator that is basically just saying that Yuzu is promoting piracy in like every way, shape, and form. And so Nintendo went and just slapped Yuzu with a cease and desist, saying that it, quote, is facilitating piracy at a colossal scale. Saying that it's primarily used to circumvent and play Nintendo Switch games illegally. And so, because they were claiming that's like, in order to like use it, they basically are telling users to legally download like the BIOS of the Switch, when like it doesn't blatantly tell users to do that. Like, so Nintendo is basically just being like, Yuzu is telling users how to illegally download Nintendo games and Nintendo software to be able to play games, which it's like, no emulator does that. None of the emulators blatantly tell people to illegally download games. They just give people an outlet to be able to, like, if they have the console, to be able to like take the code and put it on the PC, and take the game files and put it on the PC. Like, but apparently Nintendo just doesn't. Yuzu is unfortunately getting whacked in the face. So
what I had heard was the big. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, go for it.
But what I had heard was the big kicker, at least in court, I think, was basically just that like Yuzu has always been like on a surface level, has always been very like, don't use this for piracy. Like
they have been
Yuzu to do like modded Breath of the Wild and stuff. And they were like, if you don't have this game already on Switch, and you're not,
don't
like,
go and get
downloading
it. Yeah, that's
Switch thing. Like, then don't use Yuzu. Like, it's not for piracy. Like, you have to.
Because Dolphin is the same way. Is that, like, most of these well-known emulators do not like advertise or encourage piracy in any way, shape, or form. They're like, this is just a way for you to be able to play games that you already own on consoles you already own on your PC. But Nintendo's just like, nope, you are encouraging piracy. We don't like that. And so they basically.
I think what the kicker was is that basically, I don't know if you guys remember this, but a little while, like about a week or so before Tears of the Kingdom officially released, someone leaked like the files for the game.
Yeah, they did.
And it was put onto Yuzu, and people were able to, like, my brother did it, where he had Tears of the Kingdom. He was playing Tears of the Kingdom via Yuzu via Yuzu emulator for like a whole week before it came out, you know, like, and he was just goofing around on it. And like, it was cool and it was fun, and we didn't really think anything of it at the time. But I think that was kind of what eventually kind of was the you know, kind
it
of
might have been, but all of Nintendo's things have been at Yuzu specifically, because that sort of thing is not inherently Yuzu's fault that was developed. It's like the Nintendo's going after Yuzu themselves, saying that like, oh, they have circumvention tools that allow people to get around, you know, and create modified Nintendo hardware and all that sort of thing. And so essentially they went after Yuzu, and the company like Tropic Haze basically just gave up without a fight. They're like, okay, fine, and have agreed to pay $2.4 million into Nintendo, completely stop developing Yuzu, even give their domain name over to Nintendo. So basically just completely just give up, hand everything over to Nintendo, and just let it go. So so like, I think like if you still want to use the emulator, like obviously files of it exist, like you're not gonna be able, Nintendo can't scrape them from the internet completely, but no more updates are for it. It's no longer officially supported. So this kind of action from Nintendo onto Yuzu worries me for the future of Dolphin specifically, because Dolphin is about the biggest Nintendo emulator known to mankind with the Nintendo and GameCube
I will
emulation.
say Nintendo may not. I mean, Nintendo cares because Nintendo is Nintendo, but they may care less because Dolphin is targeted towards their older consoles.
Well, I think the reason because Nintendo knows that Dolphin exists because they slapped Dolphin with a cease and desist when they tried to come out on Steam. I think it was last year. And I think the thing that gets it around is how the internal code works, because with Yuzu, it works like some of the PlayStation 2 emulators and other things, where in order to use the emulator, you have to have the BIOS of the console. And in Yuzu's case, it doesn't have, you have to have the BIOS of the Switch, which either requires you to hack them off of a Switch, which is legal, or like it like voids your warranty and stuff, but like it's legal, or to download them illegally. And I think that's where Nintendo's like, oh, you're encouraging people to illegally download Switch BIOS, whereas with Dolphin, with the GameCube and the Wii, it doesn't require you to do that. It comes with it built in because it's just code that's been in there. So Nintendo is less likely to shut Dolphin down, because at the firmware level, the software level of Dolphin is legal.
Yes.
It's how people decide to use it that is illegal, but that's not technically Dolphin's
fault.
fault.
That's not them encouraging people to do illegal things. That's
exactly.
Just how people
I think
are.
that's what it appears is the main differentiating factor between Yuzu and Dolphin, is that Yuzu doesn't come with the BIOS included, whereas Dolphin does, and Nintendo doesn't like that Yuzu doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I had kind of thought that at least it was kind of like, to a degree, it was kind of like all the other games, like with Dolphin and all the other Yuzu games, Yuzu could, within reasonable probability, say, we were under the impression that all of our users were using this legally.
Yeah, no, they could have. They did,
because it hadn't come out. There was no defense for that. Like,
in most of the reports that I'm seeing, the Tears of the Kingdom leak doesn't seem to be a factor here. It specifically is piracy, and like Yuzu themselves came out and was like, piracy was never our intention. It's not what we encourage. But they could have tried to fight back. I think that they would have had some grounds to fight back. But I think the biggest one was the emulator itself wasn't legal because it doesn't use the firmware and stuff isn't there. And so Nintendo is like, you're encouraging people to illegally obtain the firmware or to tamper with our consoles. Even if that is legal, like, you're encouraging people to either tamper with our consoles to get around like firmware limitations or to illegally download the firmware, and we don't like that. And that's kind of like, and then they're just like, and then you're allowing people the ability to pirate our games. But I think the firmware aspect of it is where Nintendo had the most issues. And so Yuzu could have fought, but it seems like Yuzu just went fine and just folded, and they're like, it's not worth the fight, and just paid out the fine and just walked away. So if you want to play
I really hope they
Switch,
don't get rid of Dolphin though.
Dolphin, it seems like Nintendo knows about Dolphin. It is very apparent that Nintendo knows about it because they didn't let it come out on Steam and nothing has happened. So I think Dolphin is safe. I would also be very sad if Dolphin got shut down, because it is a very useful way to be able to play like GameCube games, because it's like, no one really has like.
I don't have a GameCube. I have lots of GameCube games.
All of us used to have GameCubes, but like we didn't bring them with us to college. We don't have TVs that have component inputs anymore. Like we may have the GameCube and the games were like, I don't have a way of playing this. So I hope that Dolphin is. I think Dolphin is made in a way that does allow it to like skirt that gray line of like, no, we don't encourage piracy. Don't pirate our stuff. But the firmware is legally in there, and so Nintendo's grounds, specifically targeting Dolphin, they don't really have any grounds to like cease and desist it, because of the fact that like the piracy element of it isn't Dolphin's doing. Dolphin doesn't encourage it. So I think Dolphin's safe. Yuzu though, I'm sorry to anyone that may have been using Yuzu. The support is now dead. The website I think will probably be dead, or maybe is dead already, because Nintendo doesn't like people.
Yep.
All
right. Nintendo hates its fan base.
Nintendo hates its fan base. All right. The last few things are both Court's. Court, you brought it up at the beginning. Let's talk about Helldivers. The fun stuff has come out about them. Fun developer stuff was going down on Reddit.
Yeah, that was. I didn't get too much into it, just even reading through it. But
I looked into it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, and so you probably know more than I do,
Yeah.
but essentially, I think basically, so Helldivers is what, like 4 weeks old now, and they released a patch, like a balance patch, just recently that took some of the stratagems, some of the weapons, some of the different just things that players could use that were most commonly used and seemed a little overpowered and nerfed them a good deal. And players on online weren't super happy with it because they were like, it feels like all of the super high difficulties are just maybe a little too hard now, and like giving these reasons why. And the developers, not all of them, but some of them basically replied with various forms of
trolling.
good.
Yeah, it was a very
pretty much just various forms of
skill issue.
I think the worst offender was one of the developers. There's a you can call in these railgun aerial strikes things that were really effective, and then they nerfed them quite a bit, I think, and from what I understand. And one of the developers basically said something along the lines of the way people were using railguns was brainless.
Yeah, and then the patch quote made 2 of these most brainless play styles less viable. is what one of them said.
And so it just became this big thing where it was there was so much drama on Reddit about it.
Dude,
Reddit
got upset.
Reddit got so upset because it was people were I can't believe they're just calling us out like this. And I will admit, I mean, okay, I will actually admit nothing, because I was going to say, I will admit those those higher difficulties are hard, but they are the highest difficulties, so they should be hard. And also, I just got the game 2 days ago, and I was able to beat a couple highest difficulty missions with my friends. So, I get it, but also
it is still playable.
Yeah, no, exactly. And there are some parts where it's just holy crap, but it was just so funny.
It was
the
really
biggest
funny.
drama was that there were just people who were so butthurt when they went
When
over
when
the
the developers
too much, and then the developers were just we think you suck at the game.
Yeah, so one of the mods on the
playing the game wrong.
Helldivers, one of the mods in the Helldivers Discord, when people were complaining about the patch, said, quote, "Watching you all cry amuses me so much." And they were and then one of the developers on Reddit was when they kept basically just adding fuel to the fire, was I'm feeding the rage a little for my own entertainment here, just so you know. So it's the developers some of them later think they recognize they may have gone a little far with the trolling, but then it caused their CEO to come out and basically be we're sorry for the things that were said. This is not the studio doesn't stand behind this kind of messaging. We always want to work to create an enjoyable and uplifting experience for the community. And it was just really funny.
Yeah, it was. I think what the situation mostly was is it was these developers who are all very clearly gamers themselves,
engaged in a bit of fun on the internet.
We're taking to the Reddit forums, talking as if though they were just other gamers, because they are deep down, and some people took it a little hard, which I think
there's a little bit of they forgot that they had to be professional, because
they left the professional at the door when they went on the internet.
But I still think it's so funny.
It was quite funny.
That is
anyway, like Aidan said, the CEO came out and he's we'll be having some internal, we'll be having some internal
everybody
training
calm
to talk about how.
I bet the Zoom meeting that took place the next day was lots of fun.
But
yeah,
it was.
So that was Helldivers.
But then everyone got mech suits and everyone just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, everyone kind of forgot about it. So, but now on to Court's thing. So Court, I was seeing on Twitter that Fortnite wasn't working at all yesterday.
Yeah, Yeah, so okay, so the new season came out more or less today. I mean, technically it was like late last night, but it
Yeah.
was supposed to come out like early yesterday morning. Typically, when a new season drops, the game will be down for like a few hours. Like it'll go down like pretty late
But
at
it was
night,
out for
and then
like
it'll be
8,
down for a few hours, and
9
usually it's
hours.
up. Yeah, usually it's up again by the morning. But for some reason, they like when the game was supposed to come up, like they released the update and it was like all looking like it was ready. Like the leakers had already data mined everything, and so we knew all the new stuff that was in there. And like it was servers were about to come back online, and then they just like shut everything down. And they were like, "Hey guys," and like to their credit, Epic did so good with communication. Like they nailed their communication here because they like immediately went onto Twitter and Reddit and everywhere, and they were like, "Hey guys, we don't really know what's going on, but something is on fire back here." Like, you know, like,
Yeah,
like,
and
not
Fortnite
really,
was
but,
off
they
for
were
like all day
They
yesterday.
were like, something has gone very, very wrong behind the scenes here. We're gonna need like 8 hours. Please stand by. And so then like they kept giving updates
Yeah.
like, hey, like, you know, after whatever amount of hours passed, they were like, hey, like we're still working on it. We're really sorry. Like we want you guys to jump in. Like you
It's
know,
like when
and
Learning
they-
Suite is down in BYUAT is like, we understand that you can't do your
Learning
assignment.
Suite goes down.
Exactly. And so it took them like pretty much all day yesterday.
Yeah,
But they eventually did get it up. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting.
it was pretty funny.
I mean, it's
my
one of those
Twitter
things where it's
timeline
like-
was funny.
But it's one of those things where it's like no one could really be mad at them because it's like it was clearly something they weren't expecting, and they obviously had like everyone they had working on it, and they were like the biggest thing was they were communicating. You know, they weren't just like leaving everyone in the dark. They were communicating and keeping things open. And honestly, it was a very solid example of how to handle an unexpected crisis like that, you know?
Yeah.
They just did a really good job keeping everyone in the loop.
But the
And-
update is out.
Yeah, the update came out, and honestly, this season is so cool. Like, I've been playing it this morning. I literally was playing it with my brother right up until I jumped into this call to do recording. But like the whole theme of this season is like Greek gods, you know, like so like myth and monsters or I guess myths and mortals is the title of the season. But it's like so all of the battle pass is like different mythological figures, but like done in Fortnite's own kind of style that are really cool, honestly. Like I don't know, like it's just got a lot of cool stuff. And then there's like new like weapons, like you've got like Zeus's lightning bolt that you can throw, and it's like that's like a mythic, or like Icarus's wings that you can like fly around with that are super fun. They added like a whole new 2 like biomes to the map, one which is the underworld and one which is Olympus itself. And like it's just like it's one of the biggest like season to season content updates we've ever had. And all of the skins in the battle pass are like good. Like there's usually a few ones that are just like or like kind of suck, but like they're all really good. The new guns are fun. Like it's just been a great update, and like everyone's kind of on the same page that like this is one of the best content updates that Fortnite's put out in a while. And I don't know, it's really fun. And there was a leak a while back that about halfway through the season there would be a big Avatar: The Last Airbender crossover event.
Yeah, Korra.
That would have like Aang and, you know, probably some other Avatar characters come in and be like have their own like little mini battle pass just for them, like they've done a few times in the past. And like we were pretty sure it was going to happen, but then in this season they basically outright confirmed it, because the like secret skin that comes with the battle pass, that's like the separate skin that releases a little while after. Like last season it was Snake from Metal Gear, but this season it's Korra, from Legend of Korra, you know, Avatar Korra from Legend of Korra. And so it's like with that, now we're really super sure that there is going to be a big Avatar crossover. And anyway,
That's cool.
it looks like they're kind of just giving players everything we wanted. with this update, and it's just really nice to see them kind of back at the top of their game because the last like little bit has been a little lackluster. Like it felt like last season they just didn't do a whole ton, and it's kind of nice to see that they weren't just sitting on their hands. They were cooking stuff up for this, which
We're cooking.
and we're seeing the fruit of that labor.
Let them
but-
cook.
They were cooking.
Anyway, so there's my little shills for Fortnite. It's fun. If there's a time to jump in, it's right now because
Well, I will not
the
be
game is just
jumping in.
fun.
I will not be jumping. You will never get me to play Fortnite, unfortunately. At this point, I don't even hate Fortnite. I just won't play. At this
I just
point,
won't play.
I am bound by principle. At this point, legally, I cannot play Fortnite.
Aidan, if they brought what's the word I'm looking for? Why am I forgetting the name? The game that you were talking about. And it's an
SAO?
anime. SAO, thank you. Yeah, if they brought SAO skins
No.
into the game, would you play
No,
it?
because then if I wanted SAO skins, I would just play an SAO game. What? Like,
Someday,
unfortunately,
someday.
it takes more than crossover skins to get me to play a game, Court.
Not me.
Not me.
All right, well, see, that's the difference between you and I. You play games for crossovers. I play games because they're fun.
I
We are
also
not
play
the
games 'cause they're
same.
fun, but-
We are not the same.
I
Overwatch,
don't know, it
though,
just feels
Overwatch
like-
is getting a Cowboy Bebop crossover, though, so...
Oh, there you go. And they got the
Skins
One
like-
Punch Man crossover a little while ago,
They
right?
also, yeah, so the Cowboy Bebop crossover is coming next week. The skins look pretty sick. The little animation, like, announcement they had for it was, like, really cool. And then, out of nowhere, they're like, and we're also doing a collaboration with Porsche. And we're like, what? So Diva's getting a Porsche skin. That
Okay.
yeah, it was kind of, we were like, okay.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, it was a very like, okay, and what do you want me to do with that information? That was that
All
was fun
those
stuff.
big Porsche fans who
Yeah,
also
all those
play
big Porsche
Overwatch.
Overwatch enjoyers. It was quite silly. That is pretty much all the news we have. There was some other stuff that happened that we didn't like mention. So like Microsoft had their like partners preview with some games. I think there was like a Monster Truck Jam, like Monster Jam game that was announced. So I guess
Nice.
if you like monster trucks, you can go read up on that one.
Wow.
That happened. I don't think anything else monumental happened.
Peacemaker is playable in Mortal Kombat 1 now.
Oh yeah.
That
Also
just got
that-
released.
That is true. Even though he's not voiced by the same guy. Is
No,
he
he
like-
is.
No,
I thought
No,
he was- I thought I was-
John Cena did it.
Oh
Yeah,
no, I
John
was thinking
Cena
of it. I was
voiced
thinking of the boys character, the guy.
Homelander?
Homelander's voiced by not the
Is
the
he not?
actor.
He's not
No,
even
I
out
don't
Wait,
think
yet.
really?
so.
He's not
I don't
out
think
yet.
so.
I don't think we know.
I don't think
I
he
thought I
is.
think they are.
Or maybe
getting
it's one
him.
of the other games that he's
I
in.
hope they get what's his name, Anthony.
I'd be
I-
really surprised if they didn't.
Maybe it wasn't
They got-
Mortal Kombat. It was in one of the other games that Homelander is in, where the people were like, "Oh, where they like tagged him on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, you're voicing him, right?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I was not approached for this." And everyone's like, "What?"
Oh, weird.
Literally half the reason I'm still playing Mortal Kombat is because I'm waiting for Homelander to come out.
Yeah, I don't
like-
think maybe it wasn't Mortal Kombat. It was one of the other.
Yeah,
Maybe it was
'cause I know-
Street Fighter, because he was put in. I thought he was put in 7.
He was put in
wasn't he?
Call of Duty. He was
Mm,
put in Call of Duty.
Let me. I might be peddling more
Yeah, it might
false
be that.
information.
It might have
Well-
been Call of Duty.
Fake news.
Fake
Look.
news. But yeah, no, it's because I would be really surprised because they got J.K. Simmons to come in and voice Omni-Man.
Yeah, honestly, that's
they got
way more
John
difficult
Cena
than
to come in
getting.
and voice Peacemaker, and I'm like, if they
Oh,
get
yeah,
J.K.
nope.
Simmons and John
Yeah,
Cena,
no. In Homelander, for Homelander in Mortal Kombat, he's not. No, it's not Anthony Starr.
No, no.
He said he was open to it, but when asked about it, he was like, "No, I was not approached for it."
There's no way that's true. I don't
That
believe
seems
that for a
odd.
second.
Like, why would they go through all the effort of getting John Cena and J.K. Simmons back?
Yeah,
in
no.
place they look like the characters
Apparently,
and
it is like pretty officially reported that Anthony Starr is not voicing Homelander in Mortal Kombat 1.
Huh.
That is
Which is so weird
sad.
because they got J.K. Simmons for Omni-Man and John Cena's coming for Peace. So I don't know what happened that like.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he was like busy with filming because like
Well, no,
season 4
maybe.
is like.
But he said he
about
was
to
open
come
to
out.
it, so yeah, it could have been. Maybe it's the same reason why Will Ferrell didn't voice Megamind.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
No.
jeez.
But we're
I
not
know
going to talk
where
about that
you're
because
going.
that's
I
not gaming
refuse to
related.
even. That does not exist in my mind. Like,
Anyways, Mega Man 2 does not exist. Any final
Mega Man.
stuff before we
Mega
before
Man
Court
2 definitely exists.
before Court closes us out? Okay, Court, take us out.
Okay.
Not
Go play
again.
Fortnite.
We just gonna walk off set. Go play Fortnite. That is all, and he just leaves.
Fortnite. All right, Knights of the D-Pad is a publication of the Daily Universe. We'd like to give a special thanks to Alan Neems and Miles Romney for everything they did and do to help support us and continue to do this podcast. Also, if you'd like to reach out to us with feedback, ideas for topics, or just to say hello, you can shoot us an email at knightsofthedpadpodcast@gmail.com. With that, let's sign off. My name is Court.
I'm Aidan.
I'm Lillian.
I'm Skyler.
And we are the Knights of the D-Pad. See you next time.